Welcome to another FL Studio for Beginners tutorial video. In this video I'll be going over all stock effects in FL Studio. You can pull up your mixer and click on one of these slots to load up one of your effects. So the first effect from the top of the list is Fruity Formula Controller. So basically this allows you to put in formulas and do math to create an automation to control things mathematically. So basically you have your A and your B and your C part of your formula, and this is going to take a whole different video to explain. But if you know calculus, if you know formulas, if you're good at math, this would help a lot. So that's a automation plugin. So basically this creates a movement, an LFO pattern. Now plugin number 2 is Fruity Peak Controller. So this is an automation as well. You want to link this to a volume knob. It's an automation. It controls anything. So for example, I can right click a knob that I want this to control, hit link to controller, and there's my Fruity Peak controllers right there. So I'm going to link it to my LFO side and accept that, and I can control where I want it to start. I can control how high I want it to go and up and down, the tension of the LFO, the speed of it. So these are automation controls. This peak part is another automation control. This is just more of a manual automation. So you can link this to the peak. It's more manual. So you can create an automation clip, right click this, create an automation clip, control it somehow. So it's another point of automation. The third automation stock plugin is Fruity XY Controller. It's a grid. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, your X and Y axis is controlled with these knobs, and you can link that to whatever you would like to control an automation. It works really good with effects. Fruity XYZ controller is the same thing, it just has another plane. It's like the backspace, how up front and how far back. That's what that Z plane seems like. Starting on the compressor, compression and dynamics. Free compressor is just a normal compressor. You set your threshold, your ratio, gain with type, attack and release. It's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of simple stock plugins in here. Fruity limiter is a normal limiter, and here is pre-gain and saturation and how far your ceiling goes. Attack, release, sustain of the compression. And then this compression tab is your sidechain compression. So when you put it on a drum bus, you have your, for example, drums for a kick sidechain to that drum bus, and you have your kick sidechain to another sound, and with this on that channel of the other sound, you can compress it down with whatever you would like, whatever sounds coming through, and you can control the threshold and ratio and attack and all that for sidechain compression. This is pretty important. So hardcore is an effect guitar rack type plugin. You have distortion, noise gate, chorus delay. I'm gonna add a serum here so we can get some sound coming through to get a little test on this. You can choose different effects right here. So yeah, there's a couple cool effects on here, like regular guitar plugins. Low Lifter is a low frequency enhancer. You can have some more harmonics. Oh, you can see what it's doing. That's pretty cool. Probably control the bands right here. Yup. Yeah, it really does enhance the lows a little bit. This would probably enhance a nice bass. That's pretty cool. Now Maximus. Maximus is very important too. So this is what I use to limit basically everything. If not the 3D limiter, I use Maximus, and I use Maximus to master my tracks. So I can do a completely different video for mastering with this, but right now I'm just covering this plugin, what it does. So you can see right here on the bands, this is your low, mid, and high bands, and you can set where you want it to start compressing. So if I want it to compress everything to 150 hertz and down, I can change this to 150 hertz. And this is at 3000. I can put this at like 2000. And now everything that I compress or change will be just in the lows, mids, or highs. You can control them right here. This is your master. You can just compress all of them at once and boost pre-gain or post-gain. Add some saturation, some stereo and mono. So yeah, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Once you use these multiple times, then it's just like second nature, and you have more interest and more time to learn other plugins. So this is another multi-band compressor. It's more of a FL stock layout. There's your low band, your mid band, and your high band. Control your gains and your threshold and the ratio of where you want it to, the frequency to start compressing and everything. Exactly what I just showed you for Maximus, but a different setup. It might have different properties of what it does. So for the soft clipper, it's just a soft clipper, and it makes everything really, really loud. You can put this on your master to boost everything, just to clip it, so it will go over 0. And that's what it's meant to do, is to clip something, to make something louder without it actually making it sound too much like distortion and crap. So Fruity soft clippers, something to use in every project as well. Soundgoodizer is such a cheat code. So basically, if you want anything to sound way more compressed and louder, it's basically the stock OTT with some presets. Basically, these presets are Maximus presets, which is right here. So yeah, this is just a knockoff OTT. Alright, so a transient is the very first peak of a sound. So imagine a kick drum hitting, and it's very loud at the beginning, and then it starts to go down in transients and harmonics very quickly. So that first one is the transient. So this, you can see what it's doing, and you can control how hard it comes in with the attack and the release. So it's basically, if you have a sample that's clicking really hard at the very beginning, and you're like, why is it clicking? Why does it sound like it's clipping, or it's too much, or you might not be able to use the sound, you don't know what's going on. Load up a transient processor and just turn the attack down, and that first hit will be smoothed down. You can compress it to cut it off. You can clean up a sample with noise reduction plugin or process to just completely delete a noise inside of a sound, or you can just shape it. I don't see my Fruity Delay, but I see Fruity Delay 2. So Fruity Delay 2 is pretty cool. Starts off at 3. So this is your input volume. You can have it normal delay, an inverted delay, a ping pong delay. Output of the volume. This is like the length. If you want a long delay, but you want it to stop sooner, you can turn this cut down. Or you can leave it up. Fruity Delay 3 is another delay plugin with more options. It's pretty cool the way it's set up. The offset's pretty cool, it makes it wider. You can keep the pitch, or that's cool. Feedback. So this is your volume and your cutoff again, exactly what I just showed you. This one has a resonance knob and a little filter, some distortion, more modulation. There's multiple delays, so you have bank 1 with all these options. Use your time and offset and spread and all that again. You cut off. Well, that's a filter. Another filter. More grain. And then you can activate another one, go to that, and add it on top of it. And each one's separate. You can have 8 delays at once. That's just a little bit too much. I mean, like, what's the point? Alright, Effector is a nice little effect plugin itself. It has the XY axis for whatever effect you choose. So, for example, if you choose a delay, you can choose the delay right here. So that's a pretty cool, simple plugin. Growspeed is a very popular plugin that you can do so much shit with. So these are the presets. These are time based. You have a bunch of different options in here that are pretty cool. Make little beats, little loops, melodies, mess with the bass. You can draw your own. So yeah, that's just a little Growspeed plugin. That one's pretty cool. Alright, now multi-band delay is a very cool plugin. So change the scale back to 0, get your original sound, okay? These are the frequency bands that are controlling each separate band with a delay. So if you change the scale and the feedback, you can see what it's doing, and you can also change the amount of each band at what is getting affected. But I'm gonna put it back to default. I need a different sound for a better effect. So you can make really cool sounds with this. That was kind of a bad example, but I'm gonna move on. So this is a new plugin. I just did some research on it. Basically, you can drag a loop in here. You can drag any sample. You can put it on this plugin itself. Put it on a channel rack, and this controls the dry in and out. And basically, what it does is it has two loops that you control to like make things glitchy, or it's just playing back a drum loop and it changes a drum in the loop to a different loop. It's really just changes things however you set it. So you control how much one loop is coming in and one loop's coming out. That's where it starts, that's where it ends. You can update both of them, update one at a time. See how it just sounds glitchy and weird. Now moving on to distortion. Destructor is a very simple effect plugin. It has distortion, a filter, chorus, and a speaker, and you can change these. You have separate presets, you can adjust them. Very simple. You can automate any of these. Another distortion plugin, Fruity Blood Overdrive. Add the color, preamp, preband, filter, and gain. Add times 100. It's crazy. This is another free fast distortion. Another distortion, preamp, threshold. To make sounds more dominant. This is just squeezing it in a sense. This is shaping the wave so you can have more output. The x-axis is the input and the y-axis is the output. So you can have it half volume, 0 to 100, about how fast it comes in. Does that make sense? How hard the the pre-gain comes in. So this Fruity Convolver, it has a sample window. You can drag and drop any sample in here to make a new sample. There's plenty of presets in here for reverb, mainly reverb effects, You can edit the sound and add an effect and then drag and drop it out into the project, and then make a new sound and then drag and drop into the project. So this is pretty useful. Equo is just like a digital EQ. I wanted to boost just the lows. So you got multiple EQs on here. That's pretty cool. These are the main stock EQs for FL Studio. These are the lower bands. These are the higher bands. Control where they are. And then the Fruity Parametric EQ2 is a little bit better to use. You can change these with your mouse and scroll wheel and automate these to make some cool sounds with this. It has a bunch of mastering presets on here. Alright, Fruity Filter is just a simple filter, another stock setup. The frequency of the filter with the resonance. You have a low pass on it and a high pass. Alright, so this Fruity Love filter has been a pretty good tool. Fruity Vocoder is like a synthy vocal plugin that you can really mess with a voice or sounds with. Vocodex is pretty cool. This is how people use synth talk like robotic synths like Daft Punk. So you can kind of already hear that robotic, like a talk box synth effect. Okay, imagine that on a vocal. That would sound pretty cool. Kind of using a bad sound to Okay, now moving on to stock plugin Fruity Chorus. This is the chorus plugin. So this is basically the voices spinning around in a circle. And the atmosphere. You have 1, 2, and 3 LFOs to control. Stereo. Kind of widen up a bass or any sound really. Kind of see what it's doing there. It looks pretty cool. Control the frequency, the depth, maximum depth. Dry and wet. Fruity Flanger. Stock Flanger. Control the delay, the depth, and the rate. Control the phase of it, shape, and dampening. So that's pretty cool. reflangus. It's another flanger. This one has like the spread on it right here. Oh no, that's the spread. Oh, that's the speed. Okay, so that is kind of like the order of the spread. The speed and the depth. There's the spread. The order. So you have as many in there as you choose. Go all the way up wet, dry down. This one's pretty cool. Another chorus stock plugin. You can control each one separately. You can modulate it with the automation clip. Moving on to vintage chorus. This one's kind of like an older style. Okay, so you have 1, 2, or you can edit them. There we go. Now vintage phaser. Older style phaser. Manual. Oh, there we go. Fruity Reverb 2 is the main reverb that I use. It's pretty popular. You control the high and low filter right here, the size of it. You can see it right here about what this difference is doing, this diffusion is doing. Control the speed of it, and the modulation speed of it. This controls the bass, so I usually take a lot of bass out. This is how you make it a super long decay. You want to add some wet to it to actually hear it. Add some stereo separation to it. Dampen it up. More intricate reverb. Here you have your input level, high and low cut, exactly what I just showed you on the other one. Here's the decay to it. Oh wow, you control the brightness and the size, diffusion, character. Moving on to tools. This is the control surface. You can add a bevel, a button, checkbox, digits, like a knob. So basically these control things, you can link these to anything really. You control it with this hand button, and this is basically the editing button right here is this tool. So you make a whole control surface with knobs, buttons, sliders, whatever, and you can automate them. So I can get that. So that's that automation clip being controlled with this knob. You can record things by manually moving this with whatever it's connected to. Window where you can have control knobs. It's the control surface. Now Edison is the audio editing plugin that comes with FL. There's a bunch of options that you can do with this. You can record with this, you can edit samples, denoise things, clean up samples. There's so much stuff you can do with this. So basically You can have a mic input coming in, check, and record it through here if it's on the right channel. Check. So you can record through this plugin. I have another video that shows every way that you can record in FL Studio. You can record anything in here, and you can right click it and you'll have a bunch of other tools. You can open up a sample in this and click on tools and convert to score and dump to piano roll, and that will copy the MIDI of the sample that you have into a pattern. You can click and drag this to bring that sample into the project. There's just a bunch of things you can do with this. There's gonna have to be a completely separate video on this to cover everything. Alright, now this thing is really cool. This is kind of a newer stock plugin because it wasn't there when I first started. Alright, so basically it's shifting through frequencies in a matter of this. So we're around 200 hertz on this right now. We can bring it down to 20 kilohertz. Yeah, that thing is really cool. Alright, frequency splitter is a nice kind of mastering plugin. See, you have your low, mid, and high bands, so you can control where the cutoff is for the low, mids, and highs, and you use it to master a whole track or boost the frequencies of a sound. And a lot of things that you can do with this, shape sound or a whole track or a sample. It's just another basically multi-band compressor. So yeah, it's very useful. Just extra things throughout FL are always useful. Alright, Fruity Balance I have found to be very useful when I have a recording that's in mono or a sample that is too far to the left or right in panning. So basically this is a centered sound, right? So I can move it to the left. If you watch these 2 decibel meters, or move it to the right. So that's how you would, if you have a sample that's like that, right? All you do is pull up Fruity Balance on it and center it, and then wherever it's at, just leave it like that until it's in the center, and that's what Fruity Balance does. Alright, Fruity Big Clock is this, but you have your beats, your bars, your ticks, your minimum, your time. There should be a cool way to change it. Oh yep, there we go. Right click it, change the color. So, yep, it's pretty cool. Alright, now Patcher. Patcher is a whole different plugin database. There has to be a separate video on this as well. So basically, this is your control surface like I showed you on the control surface plugin, but instead you have a map window where you right click and you can add any effect that you have, or any oscillator or anything. So basically, if I wanted to add a vital, there's my vital. And if I wanted to add an OTT to it, there's my OTT, and these are the routing chains. So you're going to have to disconnect it from the output and connect it to the OTT, and the OTT's output to the output for it to actually work. You're going to have to double click on it to actually adjust the plugin. and you can create a whole different sound just in Patcher, a whole different effect chain, a whole different plugin chain. Like, you can do infinite stuff with Patcher, and there's plugins in different plugins in here as well. If you're creating a sound or processing something in one mixer channel and you use all of your 10 slots, all you have to do is leave one slot open for Patcher, and then you can add as many more plugins as you want to add on to your full mixer chain. But that's going to be very, very processed and very deep into sound design. Fruity dB meter is just a decibel meter. And adjust the size. So with this plugin, you can view additional information to different songs for an HTML. You can have information on a different project inside of your current project to go over something or reference a song. Or so with Fruity LSD, it is a synthesizer software that processes outputs with effects just like a normal generator, but it is accessing your sound card from within FL. So basically, you need to set up your MIDI ports, and you can have up to 16 instrument MIDI slots playing at the same time. That's what these are. So basically, I would have to connect my board to this to be able to this port right here, port 1, to be able to play that sound. And the different sounds are different colors inside of a piano roll, so you can literally note out this one and then change the color and note out the second one, whichever you assign it to, and you can literally draw out a pattern with 16 different synthesizers on it. So yeah, it gets a little crazy. Alright, NewTime is a sample editing plugin. So basically, this grid compared to your sample, and it's very useful for vocals, because basically you're editing the timing of the sample onto grid. So this is where you would adjust vocals or just edit a sample and make it more on grid, off grid, whatever you need to do. So I'm gonna look for a sample for a better example. So I can put this drum loop on here, and it will pick up the transients, right? So I can literally just start it right there. So basically, these markers have caught these transients, and you edit it onto grid just like this. So now the first 4 bars of this loop is on grid. So you're giving it a new time. That's why it's called NewTime. Alright, now NewTone is a key corrector. So you're giving it a new tone, basically more for vocals. So I can drag this sample in, it will analyze it, and it has completely drawn out the key of his voice.
He started with a C7. One time I was at a class with all classical musicians. We all had to play a piece because we always take it from the same teacher.
So basically you can just edit if the vocals need to be in key. This is how you edit vocals.
With all classical musicians. He started with a C7. One time I was in a class with all classical musicians. We all had to play a piece because we always take it from the same teacher. And
Alright, for your notebook, this is where you write all your notes down. Really simple. Fruity Pan-O-Matic, this is a panning software or a panning plugin. So this is your left and right again. You have your volume up and down, your left and right. You have an LFO in there. So yeah, that's pretty cool, an automatic panning plugin. Alright, Pitcher is a vocal pitch plugin. You can use it with any sound, but basically, there we go. Choose your key, your scale. So you can do a lot of things with that, with different sounds, especially vocals. Pitch shifter is another pitch modulation plugin. So here's your X, Y, Z. So yeah, you have a bunch of different options for different plugins, even though they do the same thing. They might have different options and just different options, man. Alright, this you can drag a sample in here and just straight up scratch it like vinyl.
She understood about the piece that she knew how to play. He said, that's all he did. And so he played some changes.
Just the speed of it and the acceleration,
He just had a special way of playing.
sensitivity.
He liked the way. Way of playing. He liked the way he played.
Volume.
That's all. But it still
this
changes.
is
They don't
pretty
even,
cool.
some of the classical
Little
pianists don't even know
vinyl
the changes to
scratch
the song
table.
they're playing.
Alright, Fruity Send is a routing plugin. So basically, you have a sound going to a channel, and this is receiving the input, and this input can be outputted to anywhere else or just this into the channel that you're trying to actually affect. So it's just another side chain input basically to whatever you have it into. Alright, Spreader is basically an ozone imager. You can have more stereo, more spread, more spread stereo separation. You have a little low bypass filter. Mono. You have your visuals right here. This is your Spectro, your waveform. It's a visual plugin. So yeah, you just read a scale. Here's your EQ. So that's a visual. Alright, this is just to increase more stereo. Add more stereo separation. Bring it together. Left and right, panning for your post effect. So yeah, you add more stereo. It's plain and simple. Alright, we have a tuner in here as well if you need to tune your guitar. It just tells you whatever it's on. You can put it on the master to tune everything or just on one channel. Nice little tuner. Wave Candy, a visual plugin. This one's pretty dope. Shows your waveform, oscilloscope. You can change the color and the spectrum to a meter, to a vector scope. You can just edit the whole thing, really. last but not least, we have the Z Game Editor Visualizer. So you can actually create your own visuals within FL. So let me just right click this and create and choose a regular preset. So yeah, you can just record a whole visual to your song with this last one. It's pretty cool. Or I'm gonna have to make a whole separate video to go over this as well. It's such a in-depth plugin. You have all of your editing parts right here that you can go through. It's a lot. So, but thank you for watching and sticking around throughout this whole video, going over all stock plugins. So this is this video. I hope it gave you an idea of what is available to be able to use right from the start. More separate videos and in-depth of each individual plugins will be coming out soon, so like and subscribe for more.